Thank you, Donna. So good evening, everyone. My name is Karim Atif, and I'm the chair of the IIRSM branch in Egypt. Welcome to the 5th IIRSM branch meeting in Egypt. Our guest speaker today is Rosa Antonia Carello. Rosa is an organization development expert, and she is the author of the Relationship Factor in Safety Leadership, Achieving Success Through Employee Engagement. Our agenda for today's meeting will be, firstly, I will speak about our branch updates. After that, we will listen to Rosa, who will be presenting on psychosocial skills for safety professionals. Finally, there is a Q&A session, so if you have any comment regarding to the topic of the webinar, feel free to submit it in the question box, and we will answer all your questions before the end of the meeting. Managing risk, the essentials. Now, for the first time, the IIRSM course for the risk managing risk, the essentials, will be delivered by a global network of training providers. Managing risk, the essentials, is a course developed and maintained by leading risk experts to give the delegate those business critical skills required to identify, manage, and communicate all types of risk that matter in their area of work. The course is underpinned by ISO 31000, the Global Risk Management Standard. By the end of the course, the delegate should be able to use the risk management to improve their decision making, analyze how the external world and their own organization drive achievement of their objectives and how they can influence their impact, apply practical tools to assess and manage risk, learn about effective risk management, understand the critical importance and role of people and culture, and implement a risk management system for resilience and growth. Before commencing your application process to be an approved training provider, you should read the guidance and information document, which will be shared in the chat box. We require electronic copies of all relevant documentation to be submitted to training@iirsm.org. You are required to submit a completed training provider approval application form, a signed license agreement, and a trained application form for each trainer you want to deliver the course, together with any relevant certificates, CV, and other supporting documentation. We also require a copies of your organization's standard terms and definition, refund and cancellation policy, data protection policy, and complaints procedure. All trainers must be at least an associate member of the IIRSM and must meet the criteria identified in the Appendix 2 of the guidance and information document. So for more information about the process and the fees payable, the link will be also shared in the chat box. Regarding to the future branch meeting, the IIRSM Egypt branch meeting will be delivered, as we said, on monthly basis. The next meeting will be on the 11th of January. The topic and the speaker will be confirmed shortly. And regarding to the CPD and training opportunities, the IIRSM will deliver a social event on the 16th of December from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Egypt time. So join us for an informal chat with friends and colleagues. There is no set of agenda or topic for discussion. It's just an opportunity to chat and recharge. To ensure the event is engaging and supports in networking, we will be keeping a number to a maximum of 50, and joining is on first come, first served basis. Regarding to the international branch meetings, there will be 2 upcoming international branch meetings delivered in December. The first one is India branch meeting, which will be on the 20th of December. The event will be delivered from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. Egypt time. In this session, the speaker, Subhash Bhatt, will be giving an overview on safety by design, which is a process to manage the health and safety risks of a building from concept to completion. The second event is Qatar branch meeting, which will be on the 21st of December. So you can visit the IIRSM website to find out more information about the mentioned meetings along with the registration links. So that's the update regarding to our branch. Now I will hand over the meeting to Rosa, who will be presenting on psychosocial skills for safety professionals.
Well, thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Kareem. It sounds like an amazing program that you've put together and much needed, yes. So I am speaking to you today from Long Beach, California. It is about 9 a.m. here, and it's raining, which is really a happy day for me because it hardly ever rains. I live in a desert, so the plants, I'm looking at my plants, they're very happy, and I am very happy. That it's a good analogy for what a safety professional can provide in an organization, because the thing that people most want in the world is a sense of belonging, a sense of peace, happiness, and a sense of belonging. And you've probably all been reading and hearing a lot about psychological safety, which the definition of psychological safety, which is completely linked to injuries and accidents in the workplace. The definition of psychological safety is that you feel safe to be yourself. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to pretend that you know more than you know. You can ask questions. If you don't know the answer, it's okay. You don't have to worry about being ridiculed. You don't have to be worried about being ostracized. You can be yourself. What a gift that is, to be yourself and to be valued and to be respected. So the more I work in this area, you might not know that I've been working with safety since 1993. I got my master's in organizational development because I wanted to learn more about how organizations work, why the programs, safety programs weren't effective. We were doing a lot of safety incentives. We had even offered people a truck for the person who had no accidents. And so we had a lottery and drew the names, and then all the employees complained because the person who won the truck, he hadn't reported any injuries, but he had accidents, and he was one of the biggest rule breakers at the plant, actually. So I said to myself, well, that's a disincentive. You know, here we thought we were doing something good, encouraging people to be safe and offering them this wonderful prize. But what it did is it taught them to hide their mistakes and to hide their accidents. And so we were rewarding the wrong thing. So that's why I went back to school, and I found out about culture. You know, safety culture. I wrote my thesis on safety culture, and for many years I taught and worked with organizations on the importance of culture and how leaders can create strong, positive safety cultures. And now where I am in my career, because I keep learning and growing, and so I'm going to share with you that you as an individual can make a huge difference in your organization, and that you will begin to see changes in the organization when you start doing the things that I'm going to be talking with you about. You may not be able to change everyone in the organization or everything, but you will make a difference. And after, what is it, since 1993, I don't even want to count the decades that I've been working in this field, and I have been through many, many disappointments, many regrets, many sense of failures. Now I recover from it. You have to be resilient in this field and recover from it because I make a difference with the individuals that I work with. I have gotten letters, I have gotten messages from people that I worked with long ago that told me you made a huge difference. I still remember the first time that we talked about safety. That is my reward. That is my, as they say, it's my reward for continuing to pursue my purpose, continuing to pursue my path. So I hope that what I will share with you today will be helpful to you. But the main thing that I want you to know is that you matter and you have the ability to do this. And the fact that you're here and that you want to do it already makes you a powerful force for change. So thank you for being here. I'd like to, in this program, Kareem, are we able to see the questions as they come up from the participants, or do I have to wait till the end to see them?
We can wait to the end of, by the end of the webinar. Yes, we will present all the questions. Yeah.
Okay. The reason I was asking is that I wanted to ask people like where they're from. So I guess they could type it in the question box, right? And then you could let me know where people are listening from. So please, yes. In the question box, so that I can get a sense of where you are. You know where I am now, the other side of the world. Where are you? And Kareem will let me know as these geographical locations come in. Is anybody?
We've had Nibin from Qatar.
Hello, Nibin.
Let me just open it up a bit more. Oh, they've all come in. They're coming through. Hang on one second, Rosa. I've got Mohammed from Alexandria in Egypt. And Nibin says to say hello. We've got Robin from Wiltshire in the UK.
Wonderful. So we're getting a sense of global.
Yeah, we've got someone from Algeria, Haitham from Algeria, Awi from Saudi Arabia. So we're covering a lot of the globe this evening, Rosa.
Wonderful. Thank you, Donna, for doing that. It helps me feel like I have a lot of company here. I'm glad also that I can see Kareem's face, because it's very hard to talk to a camera. I have to tell you, this has been very hard for me. I really like talking to people and teaching in person, and the thing I'm grateful for in terms of virtual is that I've gotten to make new friends all over the world. So I'm happy for that. But it's also very difficult because I haven't been able to really touch or see people in person. So let us get to the topic of the day, which is psychosocial hazards. And of course, psychos stands for psychology, and psychosocial because psychology is our mental state within ourselves, our self-esteem, how we feel about ourselves, how we were, what our parents taught us, all of the ideas that we have about right and wrong. Those are all internal, and they guide our decisions in how we are in the world. But the social part is very powerful. It's all the social, the upbringing, your culture, what your profession expects of you, what your, it determines what's your status. There can be discrimination, and there can be privilege. There's financial status, economics. And so all of these things play a role in who we are and what we are able to do. So, for example, if I am a woman, and I am considered a woman of color because I am from, I wasn't born there, but I have Mexican heritage. And so I'm 50% Native American. So I am a woman of color, and I consider myself very lucky that I have been able to get a university education and work in a profession that is respected. But I'm really one of very few people in my profession, very few people of color in my profession, because of the social factors, and that is that most people in my profession are Anglo and men. Well, they were men. Oh, guess what? More women now than men in my profession. So we're making progress into that integration of the profession. So I say that so that you know that psychosocial, then, why would we as safety professionals be concerned with psychosocial factors in the workplace? And the reason is that those are very powerful forces in the workplace that impact the way people participate in your safety programs and the way they behave, the degree of trust that people have. Of course, if people feel excluded or that they don't belong, they're not going to trust as much as people who feel included and respected. Make sense? Yeah. So as safety professionals, the way we have to earn the trust of the people we live with. Not live, well, we live with as well, but we work with. And that includes managers, that includes all of the workers. It's a huge task. And if you are working on that, you are on the right path, because without trust, there is no communication. And without communication, there's only failure, because people will not come and tell you the things that they are worried about or concerned about, the mistakes they made, the things that would help you prevent an accident. They will not tell you if they don't trust you. And it is my responsibility, because I choose it, not because it was assigned to me, but because I choose it. I choose it to reach out and build the trust that I need with individuals in order to build that communication. Without the communication, you won't find out about things until after they happened. After the accident happens, why do we do an accident investigation and we say, wow, they should have known this, they should have known that, they shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have not done that. That's called hindsight. And everything is very clear in hindsight. The only instrument we have to prevent accidents is to get the information before it happens. And that information is within people. So that brings us to psychosocial hazards. Why don't people speak up? Why don't people talk about things that they see are going wrong? Perhaps Kareem and I are co-workers, and he has seniority and he has a lot of experience, and I don't feel I can tell Kareem that, Kareem, wear your seatbelt, or many of different things that I might be able to tell my coworker to keep him safe. But I don't, because I don't feel I have the status to give counsel, to give advice, to give information. Also, I've had bosses that I'm afraid of, because when I've tried to give them information, they've become very angry. Sometimes bosses fire people. Sometimes you lose your job. Sometimes you end up on the night shift. There's a lot of reasons why people feel it's better to be silent. And yet, we are always hearing that it's your responsibility. We tell everybody it's your responsibility to be safe, and it's your responsibility to look out for your coworkers, to help them stay safe. But so far, the reason this new ISO came about for the psychosocial hazards is because we haven't been doing a very good job of creating the environment for psychological safety. An environment where people feel safe to speak their mind, to be themselves, even to ask a question. I have had grown men say to me, I never was able to ask what that piece of equipment was for because I felt like I should already know. And if I asked, then people would think I was incompetent or stupid. So we don't ask. We don't ask simple questions that might eventually save our lives or save somebody else's life. So psychosocial hazards are all over the place in the workplace. And I did give you a handout which has a list of some of the conditions that exist in the workplace that you can look at. And it's under stressor factors and work conditions to consider. One of them is the work demands. By the way, the International Labor Association just published a paper that said that over 2 million people die in industrial accidents a year. Of the 2 million, 750,000 of those deaths were caused by long hours. They were working too long. And again, maybe you work too many hours because you need the money to feed your family. Maybe you work too many hours because you're afraid to say, no, I can't do it. There are many factors, but the safety professional needs to keep an eye out for those things and see the signs of exhaustion, see the signs of diminished capacity that take place when a person has been working too many hours. And so I think this is something that needs to be on the agenda for discussion with the management group, that the working too many hours is the #1 risk factor for fatalities. So work demands, high volumes, and then of course, when you're there, if you have, if people feel they have to get a job done within a certain time, a deadline, and so they're rushing, there's a lot of pressure to produce. Those are all things that are a natural part of the workplace. And again, management must be educated in these matters, that they have to be very clear. If they put a deadline, they might also have to say, let's check in halfway through the job to see where you're at and extend the time if needed. That's the way it works in a mature world. In a mature world, you're able to go to the plant manager, the site manager, and say, sir, I think we overestimated how much work we could get done. I think we have to reconsider the deadline. The next factor is the level of control that employees have over their work. This is a psychosocial factor because the more autonomy we have, the more we can make decisions about our own deadlines, about how we do the work. It's a psychological factor that we feel more in control, and it lowers our stress level. Autonomy lowers our stress level. Just think about this personally. If your boss gives you a job to do, and then your boss is just there over your shoulder watching you every minute, looking to see if you're doing it right, or asking you questions all the time, or criticizing the way that you're doing it, you get more and more stressed. When your boss trusts you and your competence and says, please get this done, check with me if you have any questions, suddenly you feel less stressed. So try to do that for others as well, and teach supervisors that the more autonomy and control they give their employees, the less stress employees have. The next factor is your role in the organization. In case, I don't think I'm telling you anything new, that the people at the top of the pyramid that has the most power is the most confident, and I shouldn't say less stressed, because they have a different kind of stress, because they have bosses and they have deadlines, they have things that they have to do. But the person at the bottom of the pyramid has everybody's stress on them, because the person at the top, if they're not mature, will displace all that stress and put more demands on the workers. If you work for somebody like that, you know when they're in a bad mood or they're under stress, because suddenly you're under stress too, because they're stressing you out. So the role in the other aspect of the role that makes a big difference in stress levels is that if there's a lack of clarity, like if you don't really understand your own role or your own responsibility in a job, that increases the stress level. So it's very important to, when you're dividing up the roles on the team, to make sure that everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing and when. Role clarity. Does that make sense, Kareem? Have you seen that? Yeah, when people don't really know what they're supposed to be doing. I have relationships on the list of potential stressors because we're very influenced by our peers. Again, going back to inclusion and exclusion, if we feel we belong, if we feel our peers respect us, if we feel valued by our peers, we have a sense of well-being. It increases our sense of comfort, of well-being. Whereas if we're working in a place where people are always arguing, fighting, disrespectful to each other, that raises a stress level. Now, why do we focus so much on stress? I'm sure many of you know, but I just want to bring it up as a reminder that stress lowers the mental capacity of the human being, because suddenly your mind is occupied with the risk and managing the risk of all of these social factors, and the amount of mind presence that you have to look at what you're doing, to pay attention to your work, to pay attention to the physical risks in front of you, diminishes. In fact, the study they did like on car accidents, many of the people that in the fatal accidents had been involved in a family dispute shortly before. They'd been in a family argument. So when you are all upset, you don't pay attention to the potential warnings on the road or other drivers, and you have a greater chance of being in an accident. It's the same at work. The less you're able to concentrate on the task and the physical hazards, the more likely you are to have an accident. So relationships and making sure that people treat each other with respect and share communication, the fewer. It's actually linked to reduced accidents in the workplace, the level of the quality of relationships. The next item on the list is support from managers. Of course, supervisors are the #1 link to offering employee support. If you feel that you can go to your supervisor because you need a piece of equipment or because you think that job is unsafe, if your supervisor is responsive and shows you that he cares about you as a person, it increases the trust level. And we already talked about the importance of trust, that you will be sharing that important information. I want to share a little story here because I was just up in Canada at a mine, aluminum mine, and one of the supervisors shared a story with me about one of his learnings. They had during the normal course of work, he supervises, but the employees were on strike. So he ended up having to do some of the jobs himself to fill in for the strikers. And he said, I realized that one of my employees had been complaining to me for weeks that there weren't enough shovels to do the work. And now that I was doing the work, I found I had to spend 2 hours looking for a shovel. So the supervisor found out, yeah, this is a real problem. So do we have to wait until we're assigned to do the job to find out what the real needs are of the job? We could wait, or another thing that good supervisors do is they do go out there every once in a while and they do the job themselves. Even safety professionals will do it. They'll say, okay, let me see what's dangerous about this job so I can help people more. But you can also just ask people, just ask them. And if you have built that trust, they will tell you. And by the way, if you're new and you haven't been able to build that trust yet, one of the ways to build that trust is to go out and do the work with them and ask questions and find out how they do the work. Don't give them any advice. That's not the role. The role is to know what they know so that you can help them more. So don't coach them, just be with them. Be a human being. Be a human being. So after support from managers is support from peers, and of course, this extends to so much into your personal life. I'll tell you another little short story with, I was helping a team and they were very angry with one of the employees who was late quite often. They wanted her fired. And in a conversation with her, I found out that her daughter had been kidnapped, but she hadn't told anyone because she didn't feel anybody cared or anybody would care. No, she just didn't feel anybody cared. Well, when her teammates found out, that we got together and they told her how much they did care and they were supporting her, and they began to, support her every day and ask her how she's doing, and they would help her in her work. And the whole tone of the team changed because I was able to open up that communication amongst the peers. So first individually, because the person was afraid to share her story in a group, but she was able to share it with me. And then I was able to share it with the team with her permission. And the whole team changed after that. So the two more factors. One is change. When things are changing in the workplace, we generally do a very bad job of explaining what the change is going to look like and how it's going to happen. Going back to roles, right? We don't do a good job of explaining how the roles are going to change. We don't do a good job of explaining the timeline, what's going to happen first, second, and third, and why we're doing it. Why are we changing? So it takes up, it should take you quite a while to talk about the change before it actually happens. And don't get upset with people. Oh, well, things are always changing, just accept it. Don't get upset with people. Just chat with them, listen. A lot of times, listening is the only thing you have to do in order to relieve stress. You don't have to fix a lot. You need to listen. The degree to which you listen makes a difference in how much you have to actually work. So many times I have found that by listening to somebody who's angry and understanding why they're angry, I'm able to help them. And then that makes our relationship better rather than worse. We have a choice on how we react to these things. So I never knew that being a safety professional was going to require me to learn so much about myself, about life, about others, about how to treat people. I thought it was going to be about learning about how to manage the physical risks. But once you begin to learn about the psychosocial risks, you realize that that is equally important to the physical risks. Yeah, we don't want somebody putting their hand into a piece of moving machinery, but we also have to be sensitive to the fact that sometimes people feel that speaking up is the same as putting your hand into a moving piece of machinery, because the hurt that can happen is psychic, and that can hurt just as much as a physical injury. So with that said, the last one is external factors, because no matter how good a person we are or how much we try to help people, there are things going on around us that we can't do. COVID was a good example. There's political upheavals. We, even in the United States, for the first time in our history, we saw a political upheaval of people trying to take over the Capitol building. And I know in other countries you've had even more severe political upheavals that that impact people's psychological safety. So we can't control those things. The thing that we can do within our own, and this is what I meant about learning where we can make a difference. It's within our own circle of influence. Within our own circle of influence. And we can build relationships with managers, supervisors, and try to share information with them. But if they won't do it, if they refuse to open and to trust us, then we have to move on to the next person. We don't have to treat them badly. We don't have to argue with them. We just have to focus on where it is that we can make a difference. So with that, I hope there have been some questions coming up because there's probably questions. Well, my goodness, how do I do this? How about, are there some questions there?
So Donna, if there is any questions or
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Yes, we've got one question from Sajadu Islam. And so when you come out with the concept of relationship factors in safety leadership, what are the challenges that you had to influence leaders with the concept, specifically during the era of different layers of protection in safety management approaches?
All right, it is challenging because we are raised with a concept of relationship, and so it is cultural. All right, so if somebody is, you have to pay attention first to the person's culture and how they expect you to relate to them. In the United States, it's all about fact. Somebody has to turn off their microphone because I'm getting feedback. Okay, in the United States, it's all about presenting the facts and the also the financial benefits of doing something different. Because if I come with an idea and I'm all excited and it's going to cost money, they want to know how much if I do this, what's the risk and how much am I going to save from doing that? Okay, so that's the way we handle it in the United States. Now, in other countries, you have issues of saving face and status. And you probably know this better than I, but I know as a woman, when I approach a man, I have to be very careful about how I present the information, because I don't want them to think that they are incompetent or that I know more than they do. I have to be humble. And that's one of the reasons why I like a book by one of my favorite mentors, Edgar Schein. He's got a book that he wrote called Humble Leadership. And in Humble Leadership, I learned that it's always better to approach people by asking questions as opposed to bringing them information and being the one who knows everything. So think about that. Think about how you can use humble inquiry to approach someone who up till now has been a little bit difficult to approach or to convince. The relationship factor there is helping the person save face, helping the person save face, and respecting their knowledge and letting them know you hold back your own knowledge for the purpose of building the relationship. What's your reaction to that, Karine?
Yeah.
Do you think that could work? Be honest with me.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
we don't have more questions, so why don't you ask me a question? I may not know the answer.
Yeah. That's your answer. Yes, it's right.
I think that was great, Rosa. Thank you so much. Yeah, there's we don't seem to have any more questions, but sometimes if anybody's got any questions, please just type them in to the questions section. But I think it was a really eye-opening session, Rosa, and I think it makes you think in a different way and about how to approach things slightly differently. And it's about getting the most out of people, isn't it, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And, you know, in terms of people usually ask me, well, you know, how do you build the relationships? And it's very simple things like saying thank you. You can share this with your managers. Most people in the organization, if you ask them what they would most like to hear from their boss, is thank you.
Yeah.
Most people do not hear thank you. They don't hear good morning. They don't hear good job.
Yeah.
They don't hear, wow, that was a great idea. So if you want to begin to build the relationships with your team, start by noticing what they do well, by saying thank you, by letting them know that you notice. If you notice that someone is a little quiet or not their usual self, invite them for a cup of tea and say, hey, what's going on? And really listen. Really, really listen. People don't do that. They oh, how are you? And then they walk away before you can tell them. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So what are your questions? I know you have questions.
We'll just see if any more questions come through, Rosa.
Okay. Maybe you can read people's minds. Go ahead, Karine.
Okay, so thank you everyone who attends our branch meeting, and as I'm saying, feel free to invite your wider networks, give them the opportunity to join us and learn in our future upcoming meetings. Also, I would like to thank you, Rosa, for accepting our invitation and sharing for our meeting today and sharing your experience. Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank
you for
Thank you. Just before we close off, Rosa, we have got one question did come in from Nibin. How do you influence workers to put their life first before work?
Yeah, how to influence their lives first before work. Again, it's that, why would somebody do that? Put yourself in their shoes. Empathy. Why would somebody do that? And if I do that exercise right now, I think perhaps the person believes that's what we expect from them. Perhaps that person believes that if they don't, they will lose their job. Perhaps that person feels that if they don't do that, their family will suffer. So I would have a conversation with that person just to get to know them and let them know that they matter, and see what happens, and see what happens. These things don't happen overnight, but I think as safety professionals or managers and supervisors, we have to practice empathy so that we can further listen and understand why people are doing what they're doing. Because too many times we go into the mode of, oh, that person is so stupid, or that person is so careless, or that person doesn't care about themselves. That's usually not the case. But if we were to ask or get to know them, we would find out what is the case, and then maybe we could help.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. And then just the last word from Georgia, just to say that not a question, just a comment. So your approach mirrors what she does as a family therapist.
Yes, yes, it is, because really we have our family of origin, but all people are connected, and in the workplace we're very connected. And the well-being of one person does impact the well-being of everyone else. And that's why we would like to get to the point of where diversity, inclusion, and belonging exist in our workplaces. And that would be another good topic for you all to look at, in the whole topic of diversity, inclusion, and belonging.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rosa. Really appreciated. Really interesting session today. Kareem, thank you very much as well. And I'll let you do the closing remarks, Kareem.
Okay, so again, thank you to everyone who attends, and also thank you, Rosa, for accepting, yes, our invitation, and yes, sharing your experience with us. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Robin. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Lovely. Take care, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you. Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Oh, enjoy your day, Rosa.
Yes.
Bye.